Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. They're doing 2 separate decals for some special events this weekend and also bringing back 5 different vehicles as GE vehicles that they have removed for Sweden and also for Japan. Another thing that's also going on today is you can get yourself the HO229 camouflage, which is absolutely beautiful in the Twitch drops. All you got to do is come along to the Twitch channel and get it. It won't take too long to get, so make sure to come along and get that sorted. Also, at the same time, my voice is annihilated, so I apologize, but there's not a lot I can do. I'm trying my best. Let's start off with the Swedish Air Force. So basically on the 1st of July 1926, the Swedish Air Force was created by merger of airborne divisions of Army and Navy. Even though it didn't participate in the Second World War, it was preparing to by raising its numbers and kept doing it in the beginning of the Cold War. By 1957, Sweden held the 4th most powerful air force in the world, consisting of 1,000 modern aircraft. After the Cold War ended, Sweden massively decreased the number of aircraft in its service. Currently, its air force employs only about 200 vehicles. And basically, from the 30th of June to the 4th of July, you can get yourself 2 Swedish jets, the J35A and also the J29D. So we'll have a look at both of them. Also, if you play 3 battles between the 30th and the 4th with Swedish aircraft, you'll get yourself the Swedish Air Force Day decal, which looks absolutely beautiful. EVGA creating a wonderful flag. So for Sweden, they are bringing back the J35A, which they removed because they started selling the J35XS and wanted people to buy that. The J35A is one of those vehicles that has a lot going for it. Its speed is very good at 9.7, its general maneuverability is second to none in a lot of scenarios, and also it does have 4 missiles which are quite nice. They're only AIM-9Bs, so they're much more like setup missiles, especially for 9.7, and the one thing that a lot of people complain about for this vehicle is the simple fact it doesn't have countermeasures. So you have to use its really good mobility to be able, or maneuverability, sorry, to be able to get away from missiles, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, especially if there's more than one missile coming at you at once. So the vehicle itself, I think, has a lot of good attributes, and also at the same time, a lot of the vehicles that were super strong around these BRs either went down in BR or went up in BR. So stuff like the A10, for example, and also the Su-25 went up in BR. Stuff like the MiG-19 and also Lightning and F-104 went down in BR. So depending on the meta around this BR, like if this meta is more 9.0, 10.0, it could actually be an incredibly strong aircraft. But at the same time, if it's more 10.393, which is more likely, or 10.797, there are some absolute monsters at those BRs, like stuff like the MiG-21 SMT or the MiG-21 MF, which will just eat this thing alive. So you got to be super careful of those things. At the same time, it does have some rockets that you can bring along with. Doesn't have custom loadouts yet, but I'm sure it will get them eventually. But I don't think they're worth it. I think the only reason you get this is if you want to run it in air battles. If you want to run it in anything else, then, you know, it's not going to be too great. So it's a very good vehicle, but at the same time, it does have its limitations, and it's more about what you actually face in the BR bracket, which kind of sucks because a lot of vehicles are like this right now in the 9.0 to 10.0 brackets. If they get at their tier or down tiered, they're pretty good. If they get up tiered, they just get hammered. And that's the case of the J35. The bathtub is also on sale, the J29D. Now, this one, I've got to be honest, I've had a really rough time with over the time. It's more of a ground-pounding version of the J29, has the 430mm, which are pretty good from above, you know, with the good old rockets that you can bring as well, so you can do a decent amount of damage, like hitting a target going down. They even added the 180mm HPRAK M49 rockets, so you can kind of donk people. But yeah, the guns themselves, the Akans, can top down pretty well, and also this one does have the afterburning engine on it the Fligmotor RM2B. It's just, for me, every one of these J29s or A29s that I've played, they lack maneuverability, they lack speed, and this one lacks missiles. So pretty much you are hoping that the 30mm do damage, and in ground it can work okay, because with the rockets you can, you know, do a little bit of damage, which is nice, and with the 30s you can multi-roll it, but in any other scenario, you're kind of useless. I feel like with the J29s, I always get outmaneuvered, I always get out, it is either too slow or not maneuverable enough, and then you face enemies which are both, and what happens is this tail lets you down every time. The elevator is just not strong enough, neither's the rudder, and everything locks up and you just die. So for me, the J29 is kind of the opposite to the J35, where it doesn't have nowhere near as good maneuverability as the J35 and is more of kind of a ground realistic platform, but not really a lot else. While I was recording, they also dropped another news article about a decal for Canada Day, and this one is easily the best out of the bunch, because it's a beaver with a Canadian flag. So if you want the Canada Day decal, you just have to play from the 30th of June to the 3rd of July, play 3 battles using British vehicles with rank 3 or higher, and you can get yourself the good old Beaver Boy. And this is because on the 1st of July 1867, the British North America Act united various provinces in a single dominion of Canada. However, for the first 100 years, the Canadians didn't celebrate this date. It became more prominent the more independence Canada gained from the UK. Today, it is a national holiday with parades, carnivals, and concerts. It's definitely a little bit of fun. Make sure to get the decal. For Japan, there's also 3 vehicles that are on offer, and also a decal. This is going basically from the 30th of June to the 4th of July again, and it's because it is the JSDF Day. Basically, on the 1st of July 1954, the Japan Self-Defense Forces were founded. The new armed forces that were to replace the Imperial Army and Navy that lost in the Second World War. Today, the JSDF employs almost 250,000 people, and besides defending Japan, they often participate in peacekeeping and rescue operations around the world. The vehicles that they're bringing back for GE are the J2M4 Kai, the IJN Kiyoshimo, and also the Type 74G as separate vehicles. And the wonderful decal is actually very similar to the Challenger one that they did recently for the British, but for Japan, all you gotta do is play 3 battles using Japanese vehicles, and you can get yourself the JSDF Forces Day decal, which looks super nice. So let's have a look at the vehicles. For Japan, we start off with the J2M4 Kai, which is a fantastic plane. It's got great speed, it's got great climb, it's got 4 20mm. All the J2s are fantastic vehicles. They work all really well, and also this one has fantastic bonuses on it at the same time, which is really good. So this plane, if you want to pick it up, is a fantastic purchase, but right now, when it comes to Japan, the A6M5 Co is on offer on the store, and this vehicle has access to, of course, basically very similar rewards, slightly less SL. It also gets the campaign, premium time, and G. So just pick this up. It's cheaper and so much better. If you already have this, then there's not really much point in getting this, unless you like different playstyles, since the J2M4 is more of an all-rounder, it can kind of do all roles depending on what you're fighting, and the A6M5 Co is more of a defensive plane, which is very hard to kill, and also at the same time can turn engagements super aggressively. But for me, this vehicle is good, it's just, do you take this over something like the A6M5 with the Pacific campaign? And the answer is no. The Type 74G has also been brought back, the Rank 6 Battle Rating 9.0 Type 74. Kind of sad that this got taken out, because I thought it was a solid vehicle, but it was replaced basically with the Type 16 FPS, which is right here. The Type 74, the major issue it's always had is its lineup. The vehicle itself is solid. It's basically just a Type 74F/E, but it has access to thermals. That's the big upgrade. It also has the Mega Round, the Type 93, which is one of the best, if not the best at 9.0. Super good round to use. It also has hydropneumatic suspension, so you can be able to increase your gun depression, which you see here, and also increase your armor if you want to. Turret rotation's not the fastest around, but it's good enough, and reload is standard for the 105mm L7. It's a good vehicle, you know, it doesn't really have any weaknesses. It's a pretty solid MBT with a pretty good round on it. But, as I said, the issue is the lineup. The Type 16, incredibly fun vehicle, really enjoyable, great vehicle. Takes ages to research, as you can see. Like, I put a lot of time into this thing, and it's super fun now, and, you know, it's really generally pretty good, but it's just taking ages wherever the stats are on it. Like, there you go. So you can see 107 matches in this thing, and I'm about maybe halfway spaded in it, and at halfway spaded it feels like a monster, but also at the same time it's just taking ages to do. The Type 93 is very hit or miss, as anybody who will have played it will have told you, and the Type 74s are good backups, but they're not 9.0. And also, at the same time, the CAS element for good old Japan at this BR is very limited too, with pretty much the F-86 F-40, and that's about it. So, the vehicle itself is very good. It works incredibly well. It's really nice and will be great for grinding out Japan, especially since Japan has some rough areas in its low tiers, but also at the same time just be a bit wary of the lineup, which isn't exactly the best until you get it to a level which will take you a long time to do. The Kiyoshimo is also on sale. It is, of course, a Yugamo class destroyer. We do have the Yugamo actually in the tech tree right here at 4.3, but the Kiyoshimo is definitely different from it. This vehicle has access to 3 dual-mounted 127s. The 127s are not really as useful as they used to be. They used to be very good in the old meta, where damage models were different for destroyers, so therefore you could just pummel them to death with HE. Nowadays, since AP is more king, the Kiyo and many other machines are definitely not as strong. It also has a metric ton of 25mm on it, which is completely fine, but 25mm aren't exactly very powerful when it comes to defending these ships. It kind of annoys me, actually, how useless the 25mm are compared to, let's say, the 20s or 40s from other nations. It also has some 13.2s, which are equally as bad as a AA setup, which kind of sucks, and also has 16 Type 93, 610 good old torpedoes, which are not as good as good old long lances if you compare them to like the Shimakaze, but they're good enough to, you know, be useful, which is fine. The Shimi, which is the one with the Type 93s, or maybe they changed them. They must have changed them over time. But yeah, they do have the good old long lances. Where does the Yugamo have them? I'm pretty sure it did, right? Yeah, it does. So these are 20 kilometers though. So they are slightly different Type 93s. Always enjoy the Japanese, not confusing at all. These are the Model 3 ones, so they are slightly different. So the vehicle is fine for what it does. I just feel like in the current meta and how it all works, if you actually have a look at, you know, that 4-7 Japanese lineup, it's okay, but also the Shimakaze is going to be much more useful just because it can stand off, it can keep using the torpedoes over and over again, and just keep doing that as you go along, and you can grind through with all of those, maybe with a talisman. The Udachi I don't think is available. It's definitely better than the Yubari, which is a horrific machine, but maybe it's worth just waiting for the Miyoko or also the Mikuma to go on sale so you can pick one of those up. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Millie Draper, Juan the Panda, Nick R. Kupila, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie B. Young, Peter Grayling, Jerry Provolt, Bareen, Alan Hacker, Sem Arslan, Uncle Bean, Derek R., and Lafouche for supporting the channel.